Hello, everybody. For those of you that don't know us, I am Romy, and this is Mark.
You acted like you forgot for a minute.
No, I was debating whether I was going to say Marcus.
Oh.
We have a special treat tonight. We have JoAnna Sacco, which I'm super excited to have. It's been a real treat and a pleasure to watch JoAnna's growth through the process. We've known her for quite a few years now, and she has become an awesome friend, an awesome leader, an amazing motivator, and someone that really steps up and inspires her team and women and just people in general. So,
And they do it.
yes, and she is a doTERRA Diamond. And she'll be in the limo this year. So super, super excited about that. So tonight she is just going to speak from her heart, and she has an awesome presentation for us. So we're just going to let her get started.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited. So tonight, what I really kind of felt led to talk to you guys about was a little bit about vision, manifestation, and leaders who build leaders. So before I get started, just to introduce myself, because I know a lot of you guys, some of you I don't know. So I'm a mom of 4. My oldest is 8 and my youngest is 2. And I currently live in Boston, Massachusetts. Before I did doTERRA, I worked at Dartmouth Medical School in psychiatric research. And that was where I kind of started on my natural path, because I was just so sad seeing so many people coming in on laundry list of medications, and I knew that I didn't want that for myself. And consequently, that's where I started my road down kind of manifesting the life that I wanted. And Law of Attraction, I started reading The Secret and other books like that. And around my early 20s, my doctors told me that I had endometriosis and all kinds of other issues, and I would never have kids. They actually told my husband the same thing, that he would need to have surgery and all these issues. And I was like, no way, like this is crazy. So again, this led me into all of the Law of Attraction and natural pathways, which I'll get a little bit about. I thought it was crazy at first, honestly. I was like, this is crazy. Like, are you really telling me that you can actually think things into reality? Like, it just sounded, foo-foo and not real. And then things started happening once I started putting it into use. So I want to just give you a couple of examples from my past that really, like, things that should not have happened that happened, that still, like, I look back on and I'm like, oh my gosh, that literally seems like a miracle. Like, it was a miracle. So the first thing was I found this amazing apartment in Boston. And you guys, have you ever looked for an apartment on like Craigslist or anything like that? And it's like super sketchy sometimes. Like you find this amazing apartment and it turns out to be a scam. And like, so I found one of these apartments and everybody was like, this is a scam. Like, please don't go to Boston. Do not meet this guy. Like in this apartment, he's going to like kill you or like steal your kidney. Like, don't do it. And I was like, no, guys, like, seriously, this is my apartment. And I like just was so focused on it. And I could see myself living in this apartment, and I could see myself starting a family in this apartment, and like all these impossible things that just literally seemed impossible. I was like, nope, I'm going to do it. And guess what? The apartment was not a scam. Nobody drugged me and stole my kidney. We ended up having the apartment, and I never had surgery. My husband never had surgery. We have 4 amazing kids. The first month we decided to try for a baby, we got pregnant. So Law of Attraction just started being so powerful and amazing in my life. And I knew that it was, that there was obviously something to it. So I'll get a little bit into that. I've always known that I wanted to help people. That's why I went into having my degree in psychology. But in my job, I felt like it was really limiting to me, like I had to do things on other people's schedule with their protocols and the way that they were supposed to do. And there was certain ways I couldn't even talk to people. I couldn't hug them. I couldn't be compassionate. And that's not really what I wanted. So when I found doTERRA, I found like now is what I can really do with that calling that I've always felt in my heart to help others. I can truly help people. I can help them with their health in all of its facets, not just, you know, mental health, but their physical health, their emotional, their spiritual, and even their financial. And I can help them reach for the stars and break out of the limits that society imposes on us, to stop living that cycle of, you know, working 40 hours a week for 40 years to retire in 40% of your pensions. And we all have that, every single one of you watching this. So I love that we have this kind of common mission in doTERRA and in our journey. So as you can probably tell by now, I'm a huge believer in visualization and vision boards. I was actually asked to speak last night on another Zoom about how to make effective vision boards. And coming from my research background, I had to like look into the science of it all. So I'm going to share a little bit about some of the science behind visualization and vision boards and manifestation and all this stuff, because I know it sounds a little bit out there to people and you might be a little skeptical, right? So it's been actually proven that the more you can see and hear about what you want, the more your brain becomes aware of opportunities to create it. So we create these new neural pathways basically through a process called neural circuitry, and you can literally rewire your brain for success. How cool is that, right? How awesome is that we can literally rewire our brain for success? So think about what happens when you want something, right? So let's say you want to buy, I don't know, a red sports car, right? Now all of a sudden you're seeing that red sports car everywhere you go. Does that mean that there's more red sports cars on the road? No, not necessarily, right? Like there's just the same amount every day that there always was, but your brain is just looking to fill in that loop and that circuit in your brain because it's what you're thinking about. So that's why it's so important, you guys, to daydream your perfect life and then literally just copy and paste it from your brain onto physical paper. And that's going to help you to manifest it and have it come into fruition. So that's why if you don't have a vision board, I definitely recommend having one and putting it in a place where you can see it readily and you can focus on it. So one of the things about vision boards too is that you want to focus not just about what you want, but how you want to feel. So what are you going to feel like when you walk down that carpet as a diamond? What are you going to feel like when you get financial freedom, when you get to have the relationship that you want? Be specific and allow yourself to really dream big and not play small. Like life is just too short to play small. So you really want to allow yourself to think bigger than you ever have before. So one exercise that I want to walk you guys all through tonight is to help you visualize who you want to work with. This was one of the things that at some point in my doTERRA career, a couple of years ago, I really had to stop and think about who it is that I want to attract into my business. Who is it that I want to spend time with at convention, go on work trips with, have at my house for business meetings, talk to daily. So I want you guys to be really specific about this. So close your eyes. If you have a pen or if you want to just, sit there and just think about it, that's totally fine. And just answer some of these questions for yourself. So who is your ideal builder? Who's your ideal leader? Who's your ideal business partner? Are they male or female? Do they have kids? How old are they roughly? They don't, not specific. How old are the kids roughly if they have them? Do they have pets? Do they work outside the home? What's their personality like? What are their strengths? Have they had a successful career before? What's their network like? What's their spiritual or religious life like? And you really must have this clear vision of who you're calling into your business. I'm not kidding you. It's so important. I really, truly, honestly can tell you that the women who I visualized, who I wanted to partner with, have arrived on my team. And they've become amazing leaders over the last couple of years. And it's just been phenomenal to watch. And I would have this mantra, like I attract strong, positive leaders to my team. And I would kind of go through the characteristics that they had. And like one by one, they would show up. And it was just amazing. So it's really powerful. And think about what kind of people you're attracting. Like, what are you exuding? Will that person you visualize also want to work with you? So remember, the average of the 5 people, right? The 5 people that you hang out with. So who's currently in your circle? I think this is really important to think about as well, because if you're constantly, if you're surrounding yourself with naysayers and people who are going to poo-poo on your big vision and your vision board and tell you can't do it and constantly shut you down, what's that going to do for your goals, right? All right, so a little bit of statistics. Bear with me, I just have to pull this up. Okay, so Forbes, this was in a Forbes magazine. In a famous 10-year scientific study conducted by Harvard University, MBA graduates were asked, have you set clear written goals for your future and made plans to accomplish them? The result? Only 3% had written goals and plans. 13% had goals that were not in writing, and 84% had no goals at all. 10 years later, the 13% of the class who had unwritten goals were earning double the amount of the 84% who had no goals, and the 3% who had written down their goals were earning on average 10 times as much as the combined average for the other 97% of the class. So that's huge. So this is why visualization and having a physical representation of what it is that you want, a very specific, clear vision, is so important. It really does work. All right, so now I want to talk a little bit about leadership. So leadership is, it's more than just being like in charge or managing people or having followers. Leadership that separates like good leaders from great leaders is leadership that builds other leaders. That's how I think of it. So we all know good leaders, right? They have a great following, they have groupies, they have people who love them and listen to them. But what about those great leaders? Like, what really differentiates them from just leaders? So first, let's talk about kind of what a leader really is. So I've been following the whole guessing game. I'm guessing you guys have too, about who's coming to convention, right? Anybody else like dying to know who that person's going to be? So Emily, right, obviously says it's bigger than Tony Robbins and bigger than Oprah. And I was like, what? That's insane. Like, I can't even think of who this person is. I mean, I have a couple of guesses. I'm sure you guys do too. But anyway, so I went to Facebook and crowdsourced today. Who are some great leaders and why? Like, what do people think of as, like a good leader, and why do they think that? So not surprisingly, a lot of the same names were thrown about as the guesses about who's coming to convention. So these are people who are not, in doTERRA necessarily. Like, they're just people on my Facebook page. Yet. They're not in doTERRA yet. So actually, Lynn Fingerhut, who's my good friend in Upline, summed up about what she considers some of these good leaders as leaders. Like, she basically said, I consider them leaders because they are normal, everyday, average people who survived terrible situations, persevered, and now channel their trauma and experience into helping others. Guys, like, when I think about this, I'm like, that's all of us. Every single person here has been touched by something in our lives, right? We all have something hard that we've dealt with. Every single one of us. Nobody is without that. We all have a story to tell, and we can truly inspire somebody else, somebody who otherwise might be without hope. And everyone here can turn a terrible situation in their life and help others, right? And that's what we're doing. We're doing that with the oils. But now when we step into this leadership position, when we step into our power and greatness, we have the opportunity to really change lives and bring people out of these situations and despair and these cycles that they're stuck in, sometimes generationally. So life is too short to play small. Like I said before, you may hear me say this a lot. And there are people out there just like you who are looking for someone to inspire them. And maybe you are the one with the words that they can relate to that will help them open up to a better future. Like, how amazing would that be, right? And not all leaders speak to everyone. Like, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, right? Not every leader is everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. Some people relate better to someone with different strengths. And not everyone loves Oprah, which I recently found out. I was kind of shocked about this, but not everyone loves Oprah. and that's okay. But that's why it's so important to just step outside of your fears and step into that leadership role and inspire others too. So again, let's just talk about this concept about leadership. It's more than just being in charge. It's more than just managing people. It's more than just having a following. It's more than just having a million people clicking like on your, on your posts or whatever. What are you really doing? Like, are you just building followers or are you building leaders? So, I want to share some secrets with you now about how to be a great leader who builds other leaders. So these are just things that I've kind of been observing. Like Romy said, I've been with you guys for a little over 4 years now, and I've done a lot of personal growth. I love, I'm kind of addicted to personal growth. I love it. I've seen Tony Robbins. I've seen Les Brown. They're just all amazing. I'm like a big, I'm actually a big Romy groupie. So here's just like my opinion and my ideas about what really kind of differentiates just plain leaders, not to say plain leaders, but, just leaders from really amazing leaders who cultivate other leaders. So number one, you guys listening? You might want to write this down. Do not listen to that voice inside your head telling you that you cannot be a great leader. It's a lie. It's fueled by fear. And you guys know what fear stands for? The acronym FEAR, anybody? Nobody knows? Oh my gosh. Okay.
False evidence appearing real.
You got it. You totally got it. That's all that fear is. It's false evidence appearing real. It's a lie. It's an illusion. Every single one of you guys listening right now and watching the replay, no matter what your background is, no matter what you've been through, no matter what you haven't been through, no matter what level of education you have, what your marital status is, like nothing, none of that matters. You can be a great leader if you create that vision and take action steps to create it. So number one, do not listen to that voice telling you that you cannot be a great leader, because you really can. Number two, great leaders are not without fear. So we just talked about what fear is, right? But great leaders do. They have fear and they do it anyway. Like that's the secret, right? It's not that they're not scared. It's not that they're not terrified of certain things, but they do it anyway. How many of you guys have fears about this business? By, show of hands. All right. Okay. Should be everybody. Okay, good. So just scrolling through. So lots of people have, fears about the business. Lots of people have fears about even the word leadership, right? Like how many of you think about what I'm saying right now and think, oh, who am I to think that I could be a leader, right? Who am I to think that I could lead people, or that anyone has, can get any insight from me or listen to anything that I have to say? So again, this is that false evidence appearing as real. You all are important. You're all worthy. You all have something that's going to inspire somebody else. You really do. You just have to, find that. And I love that doTERRA gives us that opportunity, and the personal growth and the camaraderie that we have and the friendships and the relationships we cultivate. They really just pull that out of us. They really do. If you stick with this long enough, you're going to, without a doubt, like just have that pulled out of you, and you're going to cry, and you're going to, see Emily, and you're going to cry when you see Emily and all that stuff. But I have a ton of fears. Like I can't even tell you guys how much fear I have of actually public speaking. Like I was anxious about this all day. I was Marco Poloing Romy, and I was like, oh, hey, public speaking, but I'm going to do this anyway. I have like a ton of oils on. I'm like diffusing my oils. It's, it's fine. We don't have to be perfect, but I know that I have a message for somebody out there, that something I say might click with somebody and it might change their life. And that to me is worth me being uncomfortable doing this. So I want you guys to think about that way too, about yourself and about stepping into your greatness and giving that gift of yourself to somebody else out there. So I hope I'm not rambling too much. Okay. So when you are, when you are a leader, you have to get in the trenches with your team. You can't just tell them to do things that you're not willing to do yourself, right? Even when you're scared, you have to do it. So you can't tell your team to go teach classes if you're not willing to teach classes yourself. Or you can't tell your team to go do live videos if you're like, I'm not going to do live videos. You can't tell your team to be a leader if you're not willing to step into that leadership role. So again, this is all part of that, what are you attracting, who's in your circle mindset that we're now cultivating and changing into. All right, let's move on to number 3. So great leaders cultivate and nurture their leaders. When you find someone on your team who has the qualities that you envision for people you want to partner with, which we now have, talked about earlier about what that vision you have for your ideal business partner, lock arms with them and partner with them. Nurture them, help them grow yourself as a leader to see what they need. Like I said, you sometimes have to step outside your comfort zone and you have to find different ways to work with different people. We all have different personalities. We all have different likes and dislikes. We all have different learning styles, different passions. And sometimes you're going to have people who you might not necessarily connect with on all those levels. And that's okay. It's just a growth opportunity for you, which is awesome because the more you can grow to work with more people, the more leaders you can now build, right? And help grow themselves. So, and sometimes, you might find that builder and you might not be the leader for them. And that's okay. Sometimes it can be a hard pill to swallow, but if that's true, just connect them with somebody on your team, your cross team, your upline, downline, whoever, where they can step into their greatness. So sometimes being a leader just means recognizing that maybe they need somebody other than you to lead them into their greatness too. So like I said, not everyone loves Oprah, which I just found out. So obviously, if I know somebody on my team does not love Oprah, I'm not going to be like sending them Oprah personal growth videos and books and stuff, right? Or Tony Robbins or whatever else. So it's good to know that. This is the number one thing that I kind of really feel like I've been able to find success with is just really being able to help my leaders kind of grow in their own language, like in their own learning language and whatever speaks to their soul versus me. So it's not about me, right? It's not about us necessarily. It's about how to help them come out of their shell and into that power. Okay, so you also have to really know their vision and their why, and you must help them know it for themselves. So this leads me to 4. So a great leader has a higher purpose for themselves and for their team. So when I think about great leadership in doTERRA, I can pretty much tell you what their whys are and what their higher purpose is, right? I bet every single one of you, if I asked you right now, like what Romy's why is, you probably would all pretty much know it, right? Because she's open about it and she shares about it. Natalie talks about her why, Natalie Rigby. I know what my 2 diamonds on my team, like they talk about their why very openly and they share it. And it's inspiring. Like that's really inspiring to people. So people want to be a part of something bigger. They want to know, I want to know that when I finally decided to start doing the business with doTERRA, I worked through my fears and self-doubts and those voices in my head telling me that I'm not worthy. And I reached out to Romy and introduced myself over Facebook. And I said, hi, you don't know me, but I'm JoAnna and I'm going to be a diamond someday. So can you teach me how to do what you do? Do you remember that, Romy? Like a Facebook message I sent you randomly. She probably thought I was crazy. Like, who is this girl? I have no idea who she is. She's like on my 10th level. I don't even know her.
That was awesome.
That's when she got her concealed carry permit.
Oh boy.
Oprah Ruby. No, but it's true. Like I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, there's like this amazing leader and I just love her. And I totally had this like leader crush on her. And I was like, I want to be just like you. And I was so scary for me because I didn't know what she was going to do. She could have just really gotten her concealed carry permit and been like, I'm not talking to you. But she didn't. And she was so kind and gave me her time freely over all these years. And she inspired me to have, you know, to want to be a part of this big, beautiful life that she painted for me and inspired in me that I could have. And that I was worthy enough to have that. Like, so many of us are walking around not even believing that we're worthy enough to have that, right? And that's crazy. So I wanted to get there, not just for myself, but I wanted to get there to prove to others that they can do it too. Like, if I can do it, if I'm like this average person with this past and whatever else, like, if I can do it because this one person inspired me, like, maybe someday I can be that one person for somebody else, and maybe they can be that one person for somebody else. And like, think of that effect that can have on the whole world. So I think that's really kind of the difference between, you know, just leaders and great leaders. Like, they really inspire people to want to inspire others as well, not just to follow them. All right, so you must have a very strong why, and you must share your why with your team, and you must individually lead your builders through their why so they can become leaders and duplicate that. So we all know about duplication in doTERRA. It's kind of this buzzword. We want to do it. We want to be able to duplicate ourselves. And this takes some vision, you know, some soul searching and some courage, and definitely manifestation, right? So whenever I have a new leader that comes onto my team, whenever I have a new builder, I don't want to call them leaders yet, right? Just builders when they're first just starting out. I always do the why exercise with them. Like, what is your why? And if it's like, well, I just want to pay a car payment, it's like, okay, what would that mean? And then we start getting into the feelings involved underneath, like what their kind of like surface level why is, because we all pretty much start off our whys surface level, which is okay. It's totally fine, and our whys change every 3 months, so that's fine. But when you really, like, your why should scare you, right? Like, it should excite you and it should scare you a little bit. So if you can get your builders thinking about their why to that level where they're scared, where it's like so big that they're like, this is crazy, like, boom, now you got yourself a leader in the making. Because when things get hard, they're not going to give up that why, right? When things get hard and they're just thinking, I want to pay, you know, a $200 car payment, they're going to give that up because they can go, you know, work anywhere and make $200 a month and make that money, that car payment. But when you got them thinking so big, they're going to work for it, and they're going to really just be on board with you. So like Romy said, I've recently reached Diamond after 4 years, and currently I have almost 4,500 people on my team. And guess how many of those people I enrolled myself? You guys might be a little surprised by this. Any guesses?
20.
20? Okay. Any other guesses?
5.
A little higher?
I'm going to guess a third of those.
Third of them. Okay.
I was going to say 200.
Okay. Getting closer, getting closer. So I've actually only enrolled a little over 100 people. So I'm not a huge enroller. I've never won like the incentive trip or any of like the challenges that like our uplines put up and stuff like that. The only challenge that I did win, ironically enough, was back when I first started, Natalie and Burke did this challenge that was helping your team grow. And I totally like, you know, I was like, yes, I can help my team. This is awesome. And like, so the whole challenge was about helping your leaders underneath you grow. So I actually ended up winning that whole challenge, which was funny because it had nothing to do with like my own personal enrollments or anything like that. But the whole moral of the story is that you don't need to be like a high enroller to achieve, you know, whatever rank you're aiming for. I mean, you do have to enroll consistently for sure, 100%. Like I never go a month without enrolling somebody. So But when you focus your energy, not just on quantity, but on quality, you can grow to diamond with 4,500 people on your team, and make a really good living and really feel good about what you're doing with, just having 100 personal enrollments. So one of the things that I did was during that challenge that I was telling you about, I was tap rooting in my organization, and that's where I found Lisa Zimmer. So I don't know if you guys know Lisa Zimmer. She's my enrollment, and she was like on my 4th level, and she started enrolling people, and she had no idea what she was doing. And when I started working with her, I literally would just I spent weeks and months and back and forth driving and teaching for her and helping her and doing all these different things. Because that's kind of the approach that I take with my builders. Like, I treat them like my baby. I've had 4 of them now. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take you and I'm going to nurture you. And, I know you need a lot of hand holding in the beginning, and I need to feed you, and I need to teach you about the power of 3 and about structuring and about all this stuff. But really it's like, it's how you really build those leaders and help them step into that power by really partnering and locking arms with them, like I said earlier. So that's kind of been the secret of my success, is that you have to, and you don't have to, but I tend to have a vision about what I want, and then I enroll those types of people. So I enroll those leaders, and I pour my heart and soul into them, and I love on them, and I prioritize them, and I continuously challenge myself to be better for them so they can be better for their teams. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. I think that's part of the reason why Romy wanted me to talk to you guys tonight, was because I do have a lot of these phenomenal leaders on my team, and I just love them. And I'm so proud that I have, a diamond walking this year. So exciting. So it's not a traditional path, I think, that I've taken, but it's worked for me, and it's just a little bit, I think, different than how other people grow. So that's what I have for you guys tonight.
Well, that was fantastic. And it is, when I talked earlier about watching your growth and stepping into that manifestation and seeing the leaders that you're bringing on, it's a great example of what you're doing. I mean, you set out to do that, and you did it. So that was really good. Thank you.
Very good. Very informative.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
one of the best information talks we've had.
Well, I'm glad. I hope that, it spoke to somebody, because it's true. Like, you just got to step into that. You got to see it, visualize it, and then take those action steps. So one of the things that I think people have wrong about law of attraction is that they think like, oh, I'm just going to sit around and visualize $1 million falling on my head and it's just going to pop out of the sky and fall on my head. Like, no, like you have to be a co-creator, you have to design that life, and you have to put in the effort too. But when you have that visualization and that manifestation mindset, it's just easier.
Right. And it makes it's more exciting. Like, it really, for me, when I step into something like that, it really engages my heart. And so in engaging the heart, that's where the excitement and the passion comes into play. And it's still hard work, but it doesn't feel like striving work, if that makes sense.
Definitely. And it's a lot more fun. And I think, I talked a little bit about when Jen was on about how I had a little, I had a mindset shift, because initially I was just like, I was working with pretty much anybody who wanted to do the business. And some people we didn't we didn't connect, and they sucked the energy out of me and they sucked the joy out of the business. And but I was like, no, like I have to work with them. I have to work with them. And a lot of times I wanted it for them more than they wanted it for themselves. And it was depleting me. And it was actually pushing away the people who I wanted to work with, who wanted this, who were ready for that. And once I cleared that space, once I made room in my life for those amazing leaders, they came. So that's another little message.
Yes.
Be mindful of how the people you're working with are making you feel in your heart and in your soul, and what their intentions are.
Right. That's a great point. I was actually thinking about that today, about facing people. I think when we first start, we're super excited about it, but and I would venture to guess that all of us, as we get started, we usually want it more for them than they want it for themselves when we first start. And that's, I think it's a common lesson that we learn as we grow. And the most important thing is to let go a little bit. And even if it's just in the energetic aspect of it, you just kind of let them go and let them find their way, and stop chasing. Just stop chasing.
Mm-hmm. I call it an emotional divorce.
Yeah. One of the things that you talked about having your leaders, like the people that not everybody resonates with each other. It doesn't matter. And I loved that you talked about if you realize that's what's happening, help them find somebody that they do resonate with. And it really is it's hard for us personally to step into that space and to realize we're not the end all be all, and we don't have to be the end all be all. And once we step into that space and really accept that, it's going to make our jobs and our life a lot easier. It's not realistic that everyone is going to love what you do. They're just not. And so it just makes it easier in that way. You just release it and find somebody that they do resonate with, or at least give them permission to find somebody that will resonate with them. Mm-hmm. And still love them anyway.
Yes. And that's been a great lesson, because I think it's our ego that holds us onto that. Like, well, why don't they love me? Why don't they watch all my stuff? Why don't they do No, it's okay. Like, there's certain people that I don't love, right, that I'm not going to learn from, right. And that's okay. But right. The most important thing is helping to connect them and help them find their success with somebody else, if that's what it is. And that's what I love about our culture and about our team, and especially, the team that you have cultivated, Romy, is that everybody is so willing and open to work cross-line and cross-team. Some of my best friends and mentors are on the rock stars, but not anywhere in my team or upline or anything or downline. So that's really amazing.
Yeah, I love that. It makes my heart just swell when I hear how the interaction is and the relationship is with the people on the team. And I've said it before, it's like when your kids get along and they play well together and love each other and all of that. I mean, as a mom, your heart just melts with that. And we have that heart investment with the people on our team, and we want the same kind of things for the people on our team. And so it's fantastic how everyone does that. So, Pam Stamps, you have your hand raised. Do you have a question?
Oh, I just raised it earlier when she said to raise your hand to show that you agreed.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for JoAnna? Comments?
What does your dress look like?
What is my what?
What does your dress look like? You have it envisioned, so you're walking this year.
Hold on. Hold on.
We're doing the recording, so.
I think it's great that she's got it. Either a picture or whatever.
Talk about manifestation and being bold and just calling it in. So I actually have not hit diamond a second time yet. I have to hit it this month, and I'm still pretty far off. But I bought my diamond gala dress.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
And it's
I love the sparkle.
Like, it's got purple tulle on the bottom that flares out.
Wow.
So now that I have this dress, I have no choice but to hit diamond.
That's right.
You totally have this.
So
Yes, if I were on your team, JoAnna, you'd have it because I'd order about 5,000.
oh, you're the best. Thank you.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi
Yes,
Vera.
ma'am.
Hey, it's Vera.
Hi, Vera.
Hey, I'm driving. I'm sorry. This is pretty dangerous. But I had a class tonight, so I'm sorry I'm late. And I'm just really very, very grateful for JoAnna. And I don't know if you guys know how we met, but we met at a play space where she was there with one of her children. I can't remember which one it was. And Isaiah, and I had my son, and we just started casually talking, and she didn't have a very, she didn't try to sell me on the business or anything like that. She just kind of said like, oh, I do photography and I work with essential oils, and it was a very casual, low pressure conversation, which she didn't even sample me or anything. It was very low pressure, but she gave me her card and I held onto her card, and I eventually ended up calling her, and she really guided me the first, the first 3 or 4 months. She'd come to every one of my classes where I just felt like she had to be there at every class. And then one day she said, I'm good, you're good. And I was like the umbilical cord was cut. And I wanted to cry. I really did. And tonight I was working with one of my builders. She's a new builder. And I said, I'm going to do what my mentor did for you. I'm going to come to your first 3 classes. I'm going to teach the first one. Then the second one, we're going to co-teach. And the third one, you're going to teach. I think JoAnna went beyond because I think she did like at least 5 classes with me. But I mean, it just shows that was so important for me to feel comfortable teaching. And now it's like I teach classes this is my second class in like 4 days, I teach a lot and I love teaching. It's one of my favorite things. And I thought I could not, I really was so nervous to teach. And I'm actually coming from being a teacher. So thank you, JoAnna, for that. And our first classes were quite long. So I've really tried to I've learned how to shape it up, and I've learned so much from JoAnna, just in general. So I'm really grateful for her mentorship. And tonight's class was awesome. My new builder enrolled with the natural solutions, and then her mom is one of her legs already, and it's just And I want to work with my leaders more. That's something I'm lacking because I'm a quantities person. So what she said before, quality over quantities, because I just love those incentives.
Sarah has won the incentive trip twice, and she won the True Blue Challenge. She was the number one. Her and Jennifer both won first place. And they just went to California to spend time with all the Trumans and stuff. So that's pretty amazing. That's awesome. And I'm not saying that's bad at all. Like, I'm not, putting down people who enroll a lot or do, but I'm just saying it's not necessary for everybody to do that.
No, I think it's totally a balance. And I love and hate those incentives because they make me a little crazy. And I do want to focus on my leaders now that I have a lot of new leaders emerging. I need to really focus on them, and the incentives, especially once you get to a certain place with incentives. Like I'm going for like 4th or 3rd place now at this point, that you just keep wanting to climb, but then that hurts you with building up the leaders because it becomes the focus. So like I said, I have a love-hate, and I'm really looking forward to the end of August to just be like, I don't give a because it was like the True Blue and then the Punta Cana, and it was like, oh my God, you know? But I don't regret the True Blue at all. I mean, that was freaking mind-blowing and magical. Like, I do not regret that at all. And I know I just said Punta Cana. I know Puerto Vallarta will be amazing too. So I don't regret it. I just need to refocus my energy because it's become a little bit incentivized by just incentives right now.
Well, you are a fabulous leader, and I've loved working with you, obviously, and watching you, develop all of the different skills and coming into creating your own style and doing things that work for you.
Yeah. Yeah, sister. All right. Love fest going on. Yay.
Thanks for sharing that, Vera. It's a really good point, what you talk about as far as shifting into caring for your leaders. And that is a natural progression that we do as we grow our business. So we are in that hardcore enrollment phase, and then you get to shift. So we constantly have shifts. And you get to step into that nurturing phase a little bit more and not be so hardcore on the enrollment aspect of it.
Yeah.
So.
And I know it's going to be like a sad loss because I noticed that most of the major leaders are not usually in the incentives in the highest places. So I think it's just going to be like a bit of a sadness for me to like lose that edge but that's not growing. I'm not growing in my volume overall, and I've stayed stuck at silver for a while now. So something needs to shift.
You're doing awesome.
Trying. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions, comments before we wrap it up?
Well, you all have to come again next week because it's double giveaway night because we're not having any tonight. So you all have to come next week.
Yeah, well, if it's our internet or if it's, Are we buffering? Can you guys hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, JoAnna, for doing this tonight. Again, it was very informative. I think everybody on the call got a lot out of it tonight. I don't know if they didn't, then they weren't listening. But thank you again. Thank you very much.
Carry weapon from me.
What?
They all learned to get their conceal carry weapon permit. JoAnna's gonna find you.
So if anybody has anybody that they'd like to see on a sizzle or any topics, be sure and let one of us know, and we'll try to do it. We can't get Oprah, but anybody else.
I don't like Oprah. Just kidding. Just kidding.
But we'll see you again next week. Have a great week, and we love you guys. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, JoAnna.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.